Sunday. Welcome to another episode of Crypto with English. I'd like to warmly introduce to you all a friend and fellow enthusiast of blockchain and DeFi and everything in Web3, Rebekah Jenkins, the CEO of TMN Global. Rebekah, thank you for coming on today. If you could talk a little bit about yourself, how did you get into this, and tell us about TMN.
Yeah, Adam, thank you so much for having me and reaching out to me on LinkedIn about your podcast. And I think it's really great that you have this podcast that you can
Thank you.
bring on different business people in the industry and that you can interview people who are creating companies in Web3 and that are trailblazing. There might be some like techno music or like something going on in the background because I live like right on I live right in the main street here in southern Germany.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so it's kind
I
of
didn't
loud.
really notice it. It could have been on my end too. It could have been something going on
No, and we
outside.
actually there's no central air here, so we always have to have the windows open. So if there's like cars driving by
Oh, okay.
or like anything going on outside, we are hearing it 100%. So
No worries at all. I think it just adds to the ambiance. So you're totally good.
yeah, I got like the nice like blue lighting here coming in on
Yeah,
my
that's right.
ear. So so let's dive into kind of like what TMN Global is, and I can say a little bit about it, and then we can dive into like if you have any questions about the company. And I would really love to like talk about the journey of how like TMN Global like came to be.
Yes.
I'm not sure how much time we have.
We got an hour.
Okay.
So yeah, please take your time.
So TMN Global, it stands for Technology Metal Network Global. And my partner actually had a really long time good friend who owns one of the leading distributors of strategic assets, so like tangible assets in all of Europe. And something that makes his company extremely unique is that they provide technology metals and rare earth metals.
Okay.
And that's something, we hear about precious metals all the time, like gold and silver, but we don't really hear that much about like technology metals or rare earth metals. So this is something that makes them really different from a lot of the other guys out there in the commodities, tangible assets industries. So my partner in business and my life partner as well, he had this idea to, we were a part of a gold company back in 2017 to 2019. And this gold company tried to put on a cryptocurrency with the gold. And they were going to say, 1 gram of gold is going to be backed by one token. But it's because they had so many tokens in their plan, in their like allocation model, like it was not possible for them to actually back the token, like to back it by gold. So the project ended up being a failure. We learned a lot from that. And from that, he had the idea, well, why don't we take a company and we have the appropriate amount of tokens and we take those tokens and make it a payment token first and provide people access to purchase technology metals and rare earth metals, because right now it's only limited to people who are in Europe to buy these technology metals, rare earth metals. So this is something really interesting because the average person just doesn't have like access to these.
Right.
So,
And if you can just define and give some context, what are technology and rare earth metals? Just for the audiences,
Yes. Yeah. So like I said, precious metals are things like gold, silver, platinum, palladium. Technology metals are metals that we use every day. So like my phone here, in order for it to be a touchscreen, I need a metal called indium. And indium is used in all touchscreens. So as you know, like today, there's a huge demand. Everything's becoming touchscreen. There's touchscreens in our cars. There's touchscreens on our refrigerators. There's touchscreens like in McDonald's, like everywhere. So there's a huge demand for indium, and that's like one of the technology metals in our portfolio. There's also another example would be germanium. Germanium is the metal that is used for fiber optic cables. You know what fiber optic cables are used for? High-speed internet. And what do especially Americans and people who are having jobs on the internet needing more high-speed internet, more fiber optic cables so
Sure.
that their internet is faster and faster and faster. We have 5G. Next, we're going to 6G. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
But these metals, people don't realize like there's such a huge demand for technology metals. Rare earth metals is a separate thing. A lot of people group them together, but rare earth metals are more like strong magnets. So they're used for green energy movement. They're
Sure.
used in wind turbines. They're used in cars like
Like,
Tesla. Like
yeah.
Tesla would not be able to function without like dysprosium, for example, or praseodymium.
Right. So like cobalt, for example, that would be a rare earth metal, correct?
So
Or would that be a
cobalt is
technology metal?
something that I'm not as familiar with. That's not in our portfolio.
Okay.
So I'm pretty like specialized into the ones that we
Got it.
offer. But cobalt, I could not even give you I couldn't even give you an example of that.
Okay. No
I would
worries.
think that cobalt would be something that's used like in cars, in automobiles and machinery and different things. But when it comes to like whether or not it's a technology metal or rare earth metal, I'm not sure. That would be a
Got it.
question for my partner who owns the metals company. He is like a specialist in the
Okay.
elements.
Got
So
it. I know it's
yeah.
used in like iPhones and I guess, various green energy type tech. But yeah, I was just curious what category, that falls into. But this is a
Mhm.
very good way of contextualizing everything. I think so far that's a pretty good explanation, Rebecca.
Yeah,
Rare
well,
earth
and honestly,
technology.
a lot of people, they don't have access to invest in these metals. Like, there's such a huge demand in the
Yeah.
industry, but do you know of any companies that can sell you tech metals or rare earth metals,
No, but I
like
do
in
know
America?
that governments are trying to always get their hands on it. Like you pick up the Wall Street Journal, you look at anything business related, whether
Yeah,
it's the United States, whether it's China, whether it's large and small countries alike, they're always trying to get their hands on these rare earth metal, probably technology metal type mines,
yeah.
whenever they
There's
can. So
actually a huge grant. I think it's a grant. There's some kind of fund in Florida right now. They're looking for um, for rare earth metals or technology metals, and that's actually something my dad brought up to me. He's like, "You guys should reach out to them and like
right.
see if you guys can work out a deal with the governor." Maybe I shouldn't be saying this live
I
on the
don't care.
podcast.
Go for it.
But that's so there's a lot of like opportunities for us to work with government, to work with different companies, like large industrial companies. And just a little bit of my background. So I'm actually the youngest senator in the Senate of Economy internationally. So I'm not a senator in the sense of like how it is in America, where you have to be, elected and people vote for you. A Senate of Economy is actually like an advisory organization that you pay a fee to be a part of this board of business professionals, and you actually can advise and help give insight into different industries for politicians in Europe. So I technically am international because I am from America and I'm speaking in German and in English. So so I'm actually the youngest
Cool.
on this organization, and the way that you get in is you have to be chosen by two politicians and one other person from the organization. So they have people that do this process,
Yeah.
and so I was really lucky to be get to be a part of this group, and that's something that I really want to expand more into
Right.
once TMN Global really gets big. And I'm really interested in politics and making a difference in the world. And I think that in politics we need more people who have good values that can do what they say they're going to do. And I think that's sometimes really hard to follow through with. But
Right.
I'm not going to get into politics today. But I just thought I'd put that in there since we brought up,
No, you have carte blanche. Seriously, say yes, say whatever you please. I think that it makes the episodes and the overall experience better. But to talk about your company,
Mhm.
specializing in technology and rare earth metals. How did you and your team figure out to focus on this, specific area? And by the way, I think it's a very great idea because whether it's large, small companies, corporations, everybody is trying to get raw metals to essentially power all of these, products such as our iPhones and green energy technologies and electric cars and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you talk about perhaps some of the foresight on that.
So how were we able to like get to where we are today? So
Yeah, yeah, and kind of just the thinking process, behind it. Because I would imagine, and I've seen this in blockchain. It's easier to an extent. Like, okay, we're gonna look at gold, and let's just
yeah.
try to have crypto tokens pegged to that, or
Mhm.
silver, platinum, maybe palladium, or
Yeah.
something like that. I think I personally think there's a lot more longevity in some of those rare earth metals and in technology metals because literally powers
Absolutely.
our everyday lives, to say the
Yeah,
least.
and actually the reasoning, I'm under the understanding that the reasoning behind Hubert Bloom, which is the partner of TMN Global, in his company EMHAG. So if anyone looking that up, I think it's emhag.com. You can go to and check out his website, and that's our partner. He actually he made a way where there wasn't really a way for the everyday person to purchase technology metals and rare earth metals,
Right,
because he saw the opportunity of there being people that would love to invest 100 euros a month, 500 euros a month, or even a one-time payment of 10,000 euros or 50,000 euros, whatever, to protect their wealth over
right,
time. And just last year, for example, if someone would have put 400,000 euros into the metals, then they would have made 100%, over 100% return, and they would have got out by the end of the year in the middle of Corona time, over
right.
800,000 euros with that
Wow.
investment. So the technology metals are thriving right now, and it's all because of Hubert Bloom and his company EMHAG. And so I really, I truly cannot take credit for the ideas or the concept behind this company. It was truly my partner, Faridun Guven, that he had this idea of combining the new world, blockchain, and the innovations of technology with the old world of traditional asset investing in strategic assets. And
Right,
so we have these like two worlds of like, a lot of older people invest in like gold and tangible assets, and a lot
right,
of like, younger people are investing in cryptocurrency. So our company is truly combining the two worlds so that we can provide access to as many people as possible to invest in different forms of tangible assets, and they can diversify their portfolio even more. If they were just investing in crypto or they were just investing in precious metals, now they have technology metals and rare earth metals that they have access to. So TMNG is not currently, it's not a stable coin. It's a payment token. So TMNG is a payment token because it only is used as a currency, digital currency, to purchase the metals. So we're building this online shop, the TMN Global online shop, and all the
right.
metals will be listed in there, and then people will be able to have like their own account on our app, or on online on the laptop, or their home desktop, and they'll be able to monitor their digital assets through our platform that we're building right now, we're developing this
Got
year.
it.
Yeah,
Got it. And if you can, discuss just a little bit of this aspect, perhaps, the underlying technology, for this, of course, to the extent that you're allowed to, discuss and disclose.
sure.
But yeah, what's some of the underlying blockchain technology that you have powering this?
Yeah, so we have a smart contract that's been audited by Certic.io, and Certic is one of the most respectable world renowned respectable smart contract auditors. And so
Right.
we have a pretty standard smart contract. We're at an ERC20 token
Okay.
on the Ethereum
Ethereum.
blockchain. And so this token, like I said, it's a payment token. It's not a stable coin. It's not a utility token. So there is a difference between utility token and a payment token. And we're based in Zug, Switzerland. And Zug, Switzerland is known as Crypto Valley.
Right.
And some of our neighbors are Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, and the biggest and best blockchain companies in the world are all in Zug, Switzerland. A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
So some of the technology that goes along with that, like I said, it's a standard smart contract, and we do have a token allocation model. If anyone wants to check it out, they can totally go to our website, tmn-global.com. In German, they always say minus for their dashes. So I'm like,
Okay.
in my
That
head,
does make
like
sense too. Yeah.
half German, half English. But yeah, tmn-global.com, and you can check out our white paper. You can actually download it from there. It's like I think it's about 30 pages long. And so we also have something called a burning program. So we're going to be burning away tokens on a public wallet. Once we go on exchanges, that burning program will be activated, and then we'll start burning. Actually, we'll burn away 15% of our profits for all of our products for TMN Global, and we'll take 10% of those profits and we'll put it into I believe it's a treasury, because we are planning for the future to develop a stable coin that will be backed by strategic assets. So we realized that gold wouldn't really just be enough for us. We want to be a little
Right.
more broad and say strategic assets, and that allows us to back the coins by multiple diverse different assets. So our technology metals, the rare earth metals, and the precious metals. So yeah, so that's our general plan, like a overview
Yeah.
of what it is. And so we have big plans in the future as well as what we're doing now. But it's step by step, one thing at a time. So, and a big thing that we actually had to wait a whole long time for was, because we're in Switzerland, because we're in Zug, we had to go through the process of getting regulated. So we're actually the registered company that's putting on the TMN Global platform, the TMNG token, is called
Yeah.
Aria World AG. And Aria World AG is actually regulated by VQF and it's FINMA. So it would be like the SEC, or
Right.
the SEC for Switzerland has said, Aria World AG, TMN Global, you guys are good. You guys are regulated. Go ahead and do your virtual asset
Right.
thing, and just let us know. Let us know how it goes. But I think it's
Sure.
really good to have regulation, because it shows that we're accountable to make sure that we're going to follow through, and we're going to really make sure that we're taking care of our community and doing following through on our promises to the best of our ability. So
Awesome. That sounds exciting as well. And
mhm.
I was wondering if you could talk about Zug Valley as well. There's so many great, you could say, ecosystems and almost, microeconomies in the world where a lot of these great, Web3 projects are coming out of. So, I think the UAE and Dubai, speaks for itself as well. But there's also exciting things, going on, and in Singapore, and you're seeing what's going on in Miami and in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Zug Valley doesn't get a whole lot of coverage here in the US, it seems. And it seems quite unfortunate, because this is Switzerland and there's also some great projects, coming out of there as well. I was wondering if you could talk about Zug Valley, the energy, the ecosystem, and what's great about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up Zug, Switzerland on, whatever search engine that you use, then you'll see some of, I wouldn't say all of the best blockchain companies, but a lot. I mean, hundreds of the best blockchain companies in the world are there. And it's not just for any old reason. It's because Zug, Switzerland Crypto Valley was one of the first places that allowed companies to pay for their taxes in cryptocurrency. And so Zug is very, very crypto friendly, and they're constantly creating new regulation in order to a protect the people who are investing in those companies, and two, to be innovative to push the industry forward. So one of those regulations that I think happened last year was that now you can actually tokenize assets, which is really interesting. Tokenizing an asset like a fine art painting by Picasso or
Sure.
whatever, you can tokenize that, and many people can actually be a part owner of that asset. The same thing with like a Lamborghini or
Sure.
a vacation home or whatever. And they're constantly looking for ways to promote and help the crypto blockchain industry, as opposed to, I think, maybe other countries who are a little bit more unsure, or I think they're worried about what is going to happen if they allow cryptocurrency or the blockchain industry to just continue.
Sure.
But I really think that Zug is taking a methodical, like a very they're not passive with their approach to blockchain, and I think that's why they're getting so much blockchain companies that are coming in there and moving to
Right.
Zug, because they are, they're not, the Switzerland people are very put together, and they have a lot of rules about
Certainly.
a lot of things, and sometimes it makes the process of getting there a little slower than we want it to be, but they do it the right way. And I think
Right.
that's really important, because they don't do things just to do things. They always have a
Right.
reason. And I think that for that, they've got this nickname Crypto Valley, because they're really supporting a lot of the cryptocurrency companies and fintech companies that are moving in there. And I think that maybe they're not getting a lot of notoriety now, but I think in the next couple of years, people are going to start hearing about Crypto Valley. Just like maybe in the beginning, people didn't really know that much about Silicon Valley, but now that is a household name. Everybody knows Silicon Valley is in California, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and it looks like we're having many of those pop up all over the place across the world, and going from that as as well. So having access to, I think, technology and rare earth metals is something that's very peculiar. Excuse me, peculiar. And I think it's
mhm,
also something that's very lucrative as well. So, just to clarify, so if I was, let's say, based in Berlin,
yeah,
um, there's at least some sort of pathway for me to like invest in, let's say, cobalt or germanium, so to say. But that's not necessarily available in many other parts of the world. Is that correct?
yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
like if you're in Germany, for example, you could go directly and buy from EMHAG, and you could pay in euros, because that's allowed. But
Yeah.
if you're like in America, that's you can't do that,
Right.
because there are things that you're paying in US dollars as opposed to euros.
Right.
And we've even tried, bank transfer things, it just doesn't work. And it's if even if it would work, it's very difficult to get through all the red tape with the
Right.
banks and everything. So that's one thing that is really important about doing this on the blockchain, is that
Right.
it's giving people access, regardless of where you are in the world, to be able to purchase or invest in these tangible assets with a couple clicks of a button online. And so that's just not possible right now. If you live in America, or if you live in Japan, anywhere in Asia, it's pretty much only possible with this company, EMHAG. And I think there's very few companies in the world, if any, that are offering this specific opportunity that EMHAG has provided. Like, people
Right.
can actually sign up for a package, and they can invest over time, like 100. They can save monthly, um, over time, and then in 30 years or whatever, they have this huge lump sum of their metals, and at any time they can say, I'm done, I want to sell my metals, I'm finished. And then in the span of 2 weeks, they'll sell that, and then people will get their money back in fiat or whatever.
Right.
But currently that's only available in Europe with euros. Anywhere else, there's just not the access that it would be if you were in Germany or Switzerland or Liechtenstein or
Right.
Austria.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, looks like I'll have to try to take some more trips to Europe then. I think that's a great opportunity. So to kind of talk about some of the mechanics of this, tokenizing assets,
Yeah.
within TMN Global. So effectively, if I was a user and I was to go and sign up, and if I wanted to invest in, let's say, cobalt or germanium,
Mhm.
let's say something along those lines, the tokens I would be buying would be representing like units and subunits of, I think, your metal supply, so to say. Is that correct?
So you would buy your tokens, and the metals is through EMHAG, and they buy like in bulk. So that's
Right.
why they're able to get like a really, really great pricing. It's based on the London fixing, LBMA, if anyone's, familiar with that, then that's how they're getting their metals. And so they have
Got it.
these huge amounts of metals they're buying and putting into bonded warehouses that are
Okay.
located in Frankfurt, Germany, in Liechtenstein, and in Zurich, Switzerland. So there's actual physical huge facilities that are physically storing these metals when you purchase them with your payment token TMNG.
Got it.
So it's just a payment system in order to buy the metals. And later, we're going to have a stable coin that's backed by the metals. So that'll be
Got
a
it.
little different, in the future. But our current plan right now is that, you have the TMNG tokens and you're purchasing the tokens. Right now, we are in the middle of our public token sale. And so people can buy tokens now before we go on live on exchanges. And then once
Right.
we're on exchanges, we'll be able to kind of activate this program where people will see that the tokens are on the exchanges, and they'll see that it's like an active, like live market price for TMNG. And at
Right.
that point, then people will be able to purchase the technology metals, whatever they want, via the TMN Global online shop,
Right.
just like you would going on Amazon or going on whatever, but we're just using the blockchain because we're using TMNG tokens. That's the only payment we're accepting. Um, so
Got it.
that's kind of how I would explain it.
Got it. And when it comes to users, what fiat and crypto tokens are currently accepted or going to be accepted, in the near future for TMN. So if, let's say, if I wanted to build my own rare earth metals or tech metals, portfolio, and let's say maybe I just got US dollars and Bitcoin, would that pretty
Yeah.
much make me good to go as far as you know start buying and selling and doing whatever else?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so currently with our token sale we're having now on our platform, Americans can purchase with Bitcoin.
Okay.
So you have to first do, like, I'll take you through the process of like how
Sure.
to buy TMNG. So like it'll make more sense that way. So you go on our platform, you register, and then you do your KYC, which is know your customer, which is this verification process. It takes probably about 10 minutes max to do that. And they just want to make sure you're like a real person and that you're not like
Sure.
money laundering or whatever, because
Right.
that's like all Switzerland cares about is that you're not money laundering. They want to
Right.
prevent money laundering in their country with cryptocurrency. And so after you get verified with the KYC, then you move on to do something called a Satoshi test. So all you have to do is you take your wallet that holds your Bitcoin. So we accept Bitcoin as payment.
Right.
And you have to send just the smallest amount of Bitcoin to us so that we can verify your account. So I think a lot of people call it like whitelisting or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and that way we know like it's your wallet, and you're the owner of the wallet. And it's also something that's required by our regulation that we have to do the Satoshi test.
Got it.
And then after that, then you can go ahead and you can go through the process of purchasing TMNG tokens, and you would just send whatever amount you want, a minimum of $250. And right now it's at 11 cents per token. And then that's how you would actually purchase. So it's like a 3-step process for anyone outside of Europe. Now, in Europe, we actually have more of a benefit. So we actually can offer TMNG tokens with a bank transfer. So it's
Okay.
one less step in Europe than it is like everywhere else, because they can actually pay with cash. Only available because we are regulated. Before we were regulated, we had to accept everything in Bitcoin or
Right.
crypto, you know.
Right. Right.
But companies are not allowed to accept payment in cash unless they're regulated. So we have a little bit of like a one up on companies maybe that aren't regulated that can only accept crypto,
Sure.
because we in Europe we can accept cash, which is really great. And it's actually made us go completely viral in Switzerland and European countries, because it's so much easier now to buy TMNG tokens, because it's like super fast. Like you just get your verification, then you can buy
Yeah.
like immediately. Where like in America or like other countries, you have to do that one extra step of that Satoshi test. And people need to realize when they're purchasing any kind of digital asset online, they need to be careful, who they're going to, especially if it's an ICO or one of a company that's not necessarily listed on exchanges yet. You need to be
Right.
really, really careful that you can trust that company, because there's a lot of companies out there that, it looks super, super legit and they're just out there to scam you. And I'm
Yeah.
sure we've all heard stories, or
Sure.
maybe have experienced personal trauma from the scammers out there, because it's a fact. And so that's why us being regulated is really, really good. Not for us, like the regulation isn't it, it's in the community's benefit. It's in like the investors'
Yeah.
benefit,
In the
because it
public's benefit.
protects them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And as far as like NFTs and metaverse capabilities, will that have a place in TMN Global? In the years to come? Because I was thinking, earlier, like if there was some sort of metaverse capability where I can essentially put on like a VR headset of sorts and be at like almost like a metal foundry or some sort of like Fort Knox kind of looking place, and as I'm purchasing these metals, I'm getting like these giant like bullion sized bars, in I guess you could say an MR or VRAR, carrying it out, or so to say.
Yeah,
I think there's
you go into
gamification.
like an online metaverse shop, and like you
Right, yeah,
actually go into
exactly.
store.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That would be really great. That would be really
Your little
something else.
character like carrying out these giant like rare earth bars or something like that. So I know it's a little
I
silly,
mean, if
but
you
more and more is that's kind of becoming the status quo
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
companies nowadays. So I was kind of wondering what your thoughts were as far as having
Yeah.
something like that
Um,
included in the future.
so in Liechtenstein is one of our like bonded warehouses, like massive buildings that stores the metals.
Yeah,
And I went to that warehouse and the one in Frankfurt am Main, Germany. And it was like entering like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, because like the guy had white
pretty cool.
gloves on. And then there was like a huge bodybuilder, like security guy, and they only allowed one person at a time to go in, because they were like, they don't trust anyone. There's cameras
Right.
everywhere. And then they like lock the door, like how they do on the ships, like with the turning
Oh
thing with
yeah,
the
yeah. Hmm.
and it was like I felt like, is anti-gravity gonna like start happening? But it
Right.
was
Everybody
so
starts floating.
intense. Yeah, and it was so intense, and I actually got to hold like a massive, I don't even know how many kilos, gold, a gold bar and a silver bar. And I was like, this is so heavy. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm a pretty strong girl. Like I work out. I play, I was not a professional tennis player, but I did play competitive tennis nationally for like over 20 years. And
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember you telling
I
me that.
go to the
Yeah.
gym, I go to the
Yeah.
gym, I lift weights, I work out, but I was like, this is so heavy. Like
Yeah.
I was in shock. So I can just imagine like in the metaverse, I just wanted to like comment on that. Like in the metaverse, being able to like carry these huge stacks of gold or
Yeah.
silver, like that would be awesome. Because in real
Yeah.
life, you cannot do that. It's like way
Right.
too heavy. But yeah, so for TMN Global specifically, I'm not sure if like metaverse is going to be in our future. Now, I will say that tokenization of assets is something that we're thinking about. We're also considering for the future a future product to be crypto debit cards or
Okay.
crypto credit cards, crypto debit cards. I'm not really sure. Where you can actually, wherever Visa or MasterCard is accepted, you can actually use that card and automatically changes your cryptocurrency into the local fiat for that country, which is
Got it.
super great for anyone that travels a lot because it's a headache to constantly be switching currency
Yeah.
back and forth.
Absolutely.
So that's something that we're also developing, in the background. We're also developing like a liquidity pool system where you can, earn passive income with, something like that. And we're also going to be applying for a new license in Switzerland, which will allow us later to actually develop our own exchange. So TMN Global might have
Great.
its own exchange at some point in the future.
That's exciting.
So and also NFTs, I've actually really gotten into NFTs personally. I've been learning a lot about it. I've been getting on Twitter Spaces, being really active. Twitter Spaces is like if you're wanting to get into like blockchain or NFTs or even crypto, like Twitter is the best place
Yeah.
to go and talk about, live talk it
Right.
out, ask questions, learn from other people who are, in the industry or maybe who are also alongside you learning about the industry. And
Very good point.
so that's something that could also be in TMN Global's future is NFTs because we have these precious metals that could very well be linked to some kind of cool unique NFTs where we can actually maybe ship out metals with people's NFTs. So I'm not going to say too much because I'm not really sure what's in the works 100% with the rest of my team. But I know that is something that we have talked about in the roundtable. So yeah, so
That
there's lots
sounds
of things in the works. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I think it's unfortunate right now that I think for those based in the U.S. like myself don't necessarily have access to that particular market. But I'm thinking if there's anywhere where there might be like some sort of way around that or a backdoor, it actually might be Florida. Given the very friendly uh, business ecosystem, and it's pretty much going to be the next Silicon Valley here. It may already
Oh,
be
really?
actually. Yeah, Miami. Oh yeah, absolutely. Part of that I think
Interesting.
part of that was I think the mass exodus of a lot of companies and liquidities out of New York and Palo Alto, and they went to Miami and Austin for the most part. So that's why I think over the past 2.5 years in particular, there's just this huge boom of uh, companies and projects, and that's why many of the very visible figures here. They're in Miami in particular, and also it's Miami. It's a fun place to begin with. So, talk about a
Yeah.
work, talk about a work and social life balance. That's probably the place to really enjoy that. Actually, I mean, you literally like roll out of work
For
and
me,
South Beach is
Miami
just minutes away.
is way too hot for me. I
It
need
is
to
extremely
have,
humid.
I grew up in Florida. I grew up in
Right.
Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida.
You're closer
And
to
so
Tampa.
I played tennis 7 days a week, 4 to 6 hours a day. I was like a tennis freak and I traveled all over the country with my sister playing tennis.
Yeah.
And after this life experience of being in Florida and the Florida summers, I will
Yeah.
never ever live in Florida. I feel like I shouldn't say that because
I
I'm
used
going
to
to
live in
jinx it.
Florida too, so I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, the humidity is
Oh my gosh,
it's a lot, and it's very
it's way too
obvious
much.
the farther south you go. So I used to live in Fort Lauderdale, and I used to live in Jacksonville, which is pretty much like North Florida and South Florida, respectively.
Yeah.
North Florida, the weather is a lot better. It's a lot more mild. It's less humid. But if you're in the summer and it's Miami, these are like days of like 90, 95%, 100% humidity where the moment you walk outside, you're already just kind of just drenched and it's almost like walking into a sauna almost. Yeah.
No, it's not for me. No, not anymore. I'm like
So you
so
must really love
beyond.
Berlin and Switzerland. That type of weather.
So I don't like Berlin weather. Like if you've ever been to Berlin, majority of the year it's cold and dark. It's like, London. It's kind
Kind of
of
like up
like
here
that
too.
climate.
Yeah.
So that is not really that great for me. I like 4 seasons. I like having 4 full seasons. So like I'm in
Right.
southern Germany right now, and I'm actually moving to Milan, Italy in
All right.
January. So that's really exciting. So I'll be
Busy
kind of
season.
like back and forth. It's right on the border. It's right on the border of Switzerland. I think I'll still be in Switzerland, but it's like on the outskirts of Milan. So I'm kind
Right.
of figuring out the details for that now. But yeah, that is the best climate for me, would be, the 4 seasons, and not being like super, super hot all year round.
Right.
But kind of going back to what you were saying about like Austin and Miami being like these hotbeds for
Oh
crypto or
yeah.
like innovation, I totally agree. I don't know about Miami so much. I haven't really heard that much about it, other than, there being like a Bitcoin conference there last year.
Right. Yeah.
But Austin, I've heard a lot about, things, Austin, the real estate alone is blowing up.
Yeah.
It's really expensive to live there because of all of these tech companies, these big
Right.
companies that are moving in, and it's actually increasing the cost of living for the people that are in Austin.
Right.
So, I have heard that there's a lot of things happening in Austin, Texas. And so, it's I think there's a lot of hotbeds of different innovative cities that are doing
Yeah.
things in the world. I just know that Zug, Switzerland has this nickname Crypto Valley because they were the first in the world to accept, I believe they were the first in the world to accept crypto as payment for taxes. So, and then with all of their other developments and all of these huge companies like Ethereum, being in Zug, they've coined that nickname Crypto Valley for that reason.
Right. Good stuff. And talk about, speaking of Twitter
Yeah.
Spaces, talk about some of the things you're doing on, Twitter Spaces. I popped in on your last Twitter Spaces, the other week, with I guess one of
Yeah.
the NFT projects, that's out there. But yeah, talk about that. Talk about the importance of Twitter Spaces, because I'll have to say this, I do maintain a presence on Twitter, and I will say, for anybody who is in crypto, blockchain, just DeFi, generally speaking, I would say it's practically speaking a must-have. If you have a project, you need to be on Twitter,
Mhm.
and probably secondarily Discord. But I would actually put Twitter as a higher priority, because that's where the thought leaders are. That's where many companies and their respective projects really go and do serious, outreach, and make efforts to, I think, increase their visibility. Like, LinkedIn is good to have, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Instagram is necessarily the best, but I would say, for some reason, Twitter is a good beacon that attracts anything blockchain and crypto related. So, those are just my two thoughts about it. But yeah.
No,
Anyway,
I
talk about some of the
agree.
stuff you're doing on Twitter.
I totally agree, Adam. I actually made a video on TikTok. I'm a TikToker, so
Oh yeah.
I actually have a secondary company that I'm partnered with one of my siblings. We have a social media marketing company based in Florida, and so that was something that I've had since before the TMN Global story was developed, and now this is my main focus, is the cryptocurrency, and then my sibling kind of handles that, and the people who are managing that. Are very much handling that for me, and I'm so grateful for them,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I am doing this crypto thing, guys. I'm sorry, I can't be there for you. But for that being said, I'm very much involved in like social media, and I love being active and like talking to people online, just because I feel like it keeps you thinking relevant on
Right.
what's happening in the world. And especially TikTok, I feel like TikTok is something that is very like no filter. Like it rewards you for going on and talking about, I talk about cryptocurrency and different, like, traveling in Europe as an American. Um, and it rewards you for being authentic and being like your most no
Right.
filter self. And I think people really kind of gravitate towards that. And so I made a video yesterday that TikTok is the Twitter of videos. And someone commented
Very
on that. They were
interesting.
like,
That makes
"Twit
sense.
TikTok."
Yeah. TikTok. Yeah.
Because it's, it's very much high, high frequency of posting, and
Right.
it rewards you for that. And you can do a lot of experimenting without really being so concerned about who's following who. And
Right.
that was a big thing with Instagram that turned a lot of people off, because Instagram was this platform that everyone's so concerned about having like 10,000 over 10,000 followers or whatever going viral, and
Right.
having all of these likes, where like Twitter and TikTok they have a completely different strategy, and it's more about being
Yeah.
active and being a part of like this community of something like niche down. At least in my
Right.
experience, that's how it's been.
No,
So
that makes perfect sense actually, and from I guess you could say developers that I know and I've spoken to, it seems to me there's clear types of content that those platforms reward and incentivize respectively, like as it was told to me. So if you're on Twitter, it's actually best to probably either use Twitter Spaces or almost write very, very brief sentences in postings.
yeah.
Posting per se pictures and videos doesn't seem to get as rewarded in that ecosystem as much.
Nope.
But if you go on, let's say, TikTok, I mean, if you have like a short video with great graphics and some animations and some text in there, that's gonna reward you with viewership versus. I mean, you could do this if you put like a 5 or 10 minute video on TikTok. I don't think the algorithms or the coding is going to push that to the front of the line. This was
Yeah,
what
it's
has been
way too
told to me, but
long.
it makes perfect sense to me though, from what I
I
see.
don't know if TikTok even do they have 10-minute videos on
I think
TikTok
it's like
now?
5. I think
Oh, okay.
last time
I
I
saw
checked, it's
the
like
3
5. Yeah,
minute.
I kind of meant that a little bit of an exaggeration, but like something
Yeah.
along like 5 minutes for
Yeah,
like
if you have a
TikTok.
longer video, like
Yeah,
there, unless it's super like jam-packed full of value and people, you're teaching
yeah,
someone how to do something. But I really think TikTok is going to be like the new YouTube, because TikTok is actually a social media platform that is starting to be showing up on search engines. And
right.
so people can actually use that like they use YouTube. So there's a lot of potential. But going back to Twitter, like you were saying, like I totally got into Twitter this year. I thought in the years before it wasn't really that relevant to me and what I was doing, but this year, actually building community in the crypto space, in the Web3 space,
Yeah,
there's a huge amount of people who are on there who are super open to sharing and who want,
yeah,
to onboard more people into the industry. So I actually have every Wednesday night, I co-host a Twitter space with John Bourne. He's a musician out in not Las Vegas, Los Angeles, California. And John Bourne, he's a great guy. He has an NFT project that he has with all of his guys, and together we have some other people as well who are co-hosting with us. But we created this idea of Web3 Women Wednesdays, and the whole idea was to get more women to feel like they belong, like there's a
right.
place for them to come into the crypto industry and to learn more about it, and to possibly make money in the industry, whether that's as an investor, as a trader, maybe to learn a high paying skill. And
Yeah.
you never know. But a lot of women are not encouraged to get involved in the industry, and so
I was
that
actually going to ask you about that, but yes, please. Yeah,
yeah.
continue.
No, well, I was just going to say that a lot of women feel like, it's a boys club, and, the guys started, all the boys started this industry, and actually the top 50 richest people in blockchain are all men. And so there's not a lot of like representation for women who are like leaders in the industry. So that's something like as a founder of a crypto company, with my partners, as a female, as a woman, I want to reach out my hand and say, look, I wasn't
Right.
a specialist, but there's a place for me as
Yeah.
well as a woman in this industry. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually what I wanted to ask. Whether it's on LinkedIn or even just a regular Google search, but there are a lot of statistics, articles, various news coverage over the fact that still in Web 3, it's overwhelmingly represented by men, and this even goes into, let's say, funding from a venture capital point of view for various projects. It still, let's say,
Mhm.
tends to go to, let's say, a more male dominated or male centered co-founding team versus a female co-founding team as well. So, and one of the things, and this you've touched on it already, that's been uttered and repeated, is that it feels like a boys club, or it's kind of like bro culture, and
Yeah.
whatnot as well. I was wondering if you could kind of talk about that, because to an extent I can actually see that. I can see why people feel that way, and I don't know if this is,
Mhm.
is this some sort of like is this some sort of pattern replaying itself? Is this really kind of like a machination from like Silicon Valley? Maybe like these broy kind of developer teams kind of respawning themselves regardless of location and whatnot. And maybe I'm a little bit of an outsider too, because I don't exactly fit the profile of a lot of those teams, either.
Yeah,
So even for me, this is kind of a learning experience as well. So I was
sure.
wondering if you could kind of tell me, your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I completely feel that it comes down to education. A lot of little girls growing up are pushed more towards like the arts and communications and those types of like learning paths, and more
Yeah,
boys are pushed towards math and science and computers or whatever. And that's just I think that's the way that it kind of creates this separation in our educational system, depending on, of course, where you were raised and what country and everything.
sure.
But there is this like divide between like what boys normally do or what girls normally do. And I think that this generation, like the Gen Zs, are kind of starting to like change that, like when it comes to
Right,
like the gender gap and what boys are allowed to do and what girls are allowed to do. I think that there's a lot more open-mindedness in boys trying other types of industries that
right.
not so many boys are a part of, and girls doing other things that girls don't normally go after. And I think that comes down to education, and like that's part of the reason why I wanted to start this initiative. So like on all of my social media platforms, you'll see like I'm crypto woman, like that's that's like my
Sure, yeah.
pseudonym online. And so crypto woman is like an initiative to help women get onboarded into Web3, and that is basically providing education and support by
Right,
myself initially, to just let them know like, hey, like try this out, like here, like go to this, here's some resources for you to learn about the industry, because you never know unless you try it. And more, I think a lot of the times people feel like if there's other people like me doing
yeah.
this thing, then I'm going to try it. But if other
Right,
people that if there's people that don't look like me, or that are they look like another group that may be intimidating to me,
right.
I'm not going to try it. So I think a lot of women are intimidated by the fact that there's so many men in the industry. But I'm one of the voices, I think, now, and there's so many female voices that are stepping up now and saying, hey, I'm interested in Web3. I want to be a part of this. There's a place for me here. And they're kind of reaching back to the next woman and being like, hey, like come with me on this journey of learning and growing. And if it's not for you at the end of the day, like that's totally fine.
Yeah,
But at least try it and look this direction, because you never know that the woman that you're helping, or the female that
right.
never thought Web3 was for them, they could be the next big founder in blockchain.
Yeah, I agree, and I think what ends up I think what ends up kind of strangling or undermining talent is is nepotism, and it's kind of the cycle where if you're kind of like maybe it's an unconscious bias or conscious bias. I don't know what it is, but I think essentially if you're in this pattern, or if institutions or societies are in this pattern, if you just keep hiring the same exact people,
Yeah.
I think this might be just from human evolution. People just like to be around with what's familiar. But the problem is that you create these
Mhm.
echo chambers, you create these blind spots, and you don't really see where the punches are coming because you've just kind of surrounded yourself with all your boys, or some shit like that. So the fact of the matter
Yeah,
is, like,
and
and if people like each other, yeah,
I totally don't, and sorry to cut you off, but I totally
by all
don't
means.
think it's like, I don't think it's like people intend to be that way.
Right, that's what
It's
I'm
just
saying. Like, this might just be like this might be something from the very deep evolutionary DNA of just human
it
beings,
is.
so to say.
Mhm.
But I think also, I think as humans, we have to be able to kind of recognize that, in ourselves as as well. Where if you kind of create this type of house, and you're always just kind of using the same materials and the same builders and whatnot, it's not gonna shield you or kind of keep you aware from all the other different types of climate changes or disasters out there. So I think when it comes to having, just a diversity of talent in there, women, people of color, those are nuanced experiences and feedback and data. Teams can, benefit from. So, you know, seeing, I guess you could say, some of the feedback out there, I can see why people are saying that, okay, this seems to be a situation where people are really just hiring the types of peers that they're most comfortable with, so to say. So I mean, like I said, if organizations and teams are to grow, then you need to kind of look outside of your immediate vicinity, and really be open and tuned into different types of talent, people with different experiences and from different places, because I think half of life is seeing
Well,
where the punches are coming from. Yeah,
innovation needs that. You
yeah,
can't be innovative if you're always around the same people who are
right,
thinking the same way as you, who have the same background as you and the same set of
right.
skills as you. I'm studying right now for my MBA at Rice University online. I'm doing it.
Very
And I
nice.
also have a degree. I have a degree in psychology, human development, my bachelor's degree. And so this is something very much that I've studied and I've experienced, is that
Right,
you really need to have in a really high performing innovative team to push a company forward. You need to have a team that is super diverse. Like,
right,
everyone needs to bring something completely different to the table in order to really push forward and to have breakthroughs.
right,
um, and so even a really highly expert specialized people aren't always the best people to be innovative, because they've always, they've seen the same thing over and over again. And maybe you need to bring someone completely different in, to help shake things up. And there's a really great company out in California that does that. It's like it's a design company, and the name escapes me right now. It's a four-letter word. I'm not sure if you if you know, but they do an amazing job of doing innovations in that way. And they bring all different types of like random backgrounds for people to actually create these inventions that
right.
um that we use every day.
Good
So yeah,
stuff.
that's kind of like, it's my initiative as a woman in blockchain to, just to encourage more women to get involved in the industry, and to not feel like they don't belong, because I think there's a place for everyone. So
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I think that's very wonderfully put. So this coming Wednesday, I take it you'll be doing another episode of Web3 Women, and probably carrying on from, I guess you could say, last week's conversation, or whatever else.
yeah, sure. So every week we just jump on the Twitter space, and whatever discussions come up, we just want to make it like a safe place that people can come on. They can ask for feedback about their projects. They can ask us questions from our experience, and the co-hosts or the panelists that are up on the stage can all chime in. And
Right.
we also have a space people can come up and they can share their projects. If they have an NFT project or a blockchain project, they can come up and talk about it. And there's a lot of investors that sometimes come on and listen to us.
Yeah.
So
Never
it's
know
a
who'll
really
listen.
great
Yeah.
opportunity for people to
Might be
come on
some.
and join and grow their communities online. So
Absolutely. Well, listen,
yeah.
I'll definitely try to make it out again. This week as well. But listen, Rebecca, thank you very much for coming on to the show today. I'm very excited to see what TMN has in store and kind of tokenizing these various kind of nuanced areas of tech and rare earth metals. I think logic would follow that. Perhaps there should actually be more attention on those types of metals because that's what creates our that's what creates our iPhones and our MacBooks and our electric cars and green energy. I mean, these are the
Yeah.
things that we actually interact with in our everyday lives, and these are things probably economies would crumble if these like kind of sources of metals were actually
Right?
depleted, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally the building blocks of modern life. And
Yeah.
and TMNG is providing people access to be able to invest in the building blocks of modern life. And I'm really, I'm super optimistic and I'm super thankful for the opportunity that you've given me to come on here and
Oh,
share a
anytime.
little bit of my story. I feel like our time is just like not enough. I feel like we could talk for hours.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I think so. Don't worry, we can have a follow-up episode again,
yeah, that would
very
be
soon,
great.
and pick up from this. I'd like to, keep updated and keep appraised of what's going on with you and your team. And like I said, I think this would be a great opportunity for the United States if people could, get into this area, sorry, of investing into these like very tech and rare earth minerals. I mean, to be honest, it's almost probably more valuable if you found like a lithium mine versus a gold mine. If you find a lithium mine, that literally powers everything. So to say, let's go from watches, goes to the tech we were just talking about, and
Yeah,
gold is. Don't get me wrong, gold is great and whatnot, though. But if you kind of think of the long term, broader, scope of these things, these are the raw metals that we kind of need to exist. Do we need to
totally.
really function in today's world?
Yeah, so it's a huge chance for people right now, to really get in on an investment that, I'm not a financial advisor, so, do your own research on everything you do. But I think it's a really great opportunity for anyone that's interested in what we're talking about today. And I will just put a little, thing in there that if
Please do.
you're listening to the podcast today and you're interested in getting involved in TMNG and how it works and you need some help, please message me. I'm sure Adam, if you
Yes,
if you know him, he can give you my information. You can find me
absolutely.
on LinkedIn, Rebekah Jenkins, and you'll see that I'm the CEO of TMN Global, and would love to help you out and get you started. I'm a very open, very doxed founder. So my whole goal is to help people to get involved in this awesome thing that Adam and I are involved in, which is Web3. So yeah, so reach out to me and I would love to hook you up and give you all the details on it.
Perfect. Again, Rebecca, it was an absolute pleasure having you come on today and get into the weeds about some of the subject matter. And I'm very much looking forward to having you back on again in the near future.
Thank you, Adam. I
Thank
appreciate being
you.
here. Yes. Talk to you later.
Talk
Bye.
to you soon. All right. Bye.